Okay, another thing that we do is offer a lot of tours and travel experiences to get people to Nicaragua, because once people have been to Nicaragua, they are much more likely to be involved. And we require that they be members to go on our tours, so that broadens our member base. And they pay an additional amount, helps pay for the staff resources. I'm open for a and that helps the staff helps with motel arrangements, translators. When we have a group that gets stuck way out in the hinterlands, they call and the staff helps them find their way back in. So if you can get people going to your partner country, that will broaden your base of members. Next. Next slide.
I've also been selling fair trade coffee. That's come up lately. We've been purchasing our coffee through Altira out of Milwaukee, I believe it is. That seems to be a great fundraiser. This is fair trade from the various co-ops in Nicaragua. It's statewide, and it seems to be a very good way to raise money. You need to have something that the people want, and the coffee is something that they want. The Chicanica dresses, doll dresses, support the American Girl doll, and as you can see, the money is well spent. The Nicaraguan seamstress receives $9, $1 stays in the project, and $10 goes to the Learning Center. So it's a great way to raise money. It's good for self-esteem as a seamstress. Many of these women have become self-sustaining because of the doll dresses, and these can be ordered online. They can be ordered through the or purchased through the office at Stevens Point, and travelers will bring back the dresses. When I was there in February, we noticed that there was a fair trade shop in Granada, and they were willing to sell the Chicanica doll dresses at this fair trade center. So we were hoping that that connection could be made, and then all the money could pretty much stay in country.
Another thing that we do, next slide please, is the shawls of love. Initially, these shawls were made by women in Wisconsin who love to knit. This brought in a whole new group of potential members, and they made shawls for Nicaraguan women for the Empowerment Project. Well, then the Nicaraguan women decided that they would learn to knit, and they wanted to make shawls for Wisconsin women. And so as all these handy knitters got going, we found we had a surplus of shawls, and so those are for sale in the craft room. Next slide, please.
And then lastly, before we start to get to our end of our slides, more than money, and actually this could probably be renumbered and put the raise funds down to number 3 instead of number 2, because first and foremost, by raising awareness, will allow you to draw in more funds, because the more people that know about you taps into a lot of other dynamics and diversity, which then you could find bigger money. You could find people that are just willing to donate items, which can raise money, or you might find people that are willing to just give you a check because they can't go golfing or they don't want to go golfing, but they do want to contribute. And then if I could bump number 3 to number 2, providing a specific opportunity for volunteer action, people do want to volunteer. They do want to help out with stuff. They do feel good about, doing the bike hike and riding their bike for a specific cause and raising money for a group that you can see is doing good work. And then lastly, obviously, fundraisers are there for the main reason is, to raise funds to cover the costs of salaries, whether it's in our office or Nicaragua, to cover the costs of projects, to cover shipping costs or something of that nature. So again, fundraisers are what they are. They are to raise money, but they are, in our case, we look at them to raise awareness and then also to provide people with opportunities to get involved with the partnership. Next slide, sorry.
So as we conclude, we have noted that we all have a challenge in raising money. We have a challenge of raising awareness. The challenge is to find a niche that you are interested in, that you can help the organization. Facilitators are extremely important. You want people who want to have a good time, who want to raise awareness, who are exciting, dynamic, to lead the action. The action needs to be followed through from beginning to end, well organized, structured. You need to know what you want is your goal. Are you trying to raise money? Are you just trying to raise awareness? Are you just trying to have fun? Are you trying to do all three? But have a direction. And as you conclude your fundraising activity, sit down and process it. What worked? What didn't work? Was it the date, the time, the location? Was it the way you approached it? Was it something that you could control and you want to change? So always look towards the history of your activity to see if this is something that it should reoccur, or is it a one-time or every other year event.
And finally, the last slide, best wishes to all, y buena suerte to everyone, and have some fun in your fund drive. With that, Judy Miller, Jensen, Omar Barberena, and Lucy Harvey say hasta la vista.
Thank you so much, Lucy, Judy, Omar, and Colin. This was an excellent presentation. We've been receiving some questions from our participants in written form. Just want to inform everyone that if you have any additional questions, you can always type them into the question or chat box. I will receive these and I can read them off to our presenters. Our first question comes from Gerard Lagos from Minnesota. He wanted to know how does the percentage of the administrative fees compare to other nonprofits?
We try to keep our percentage very low, and 10% is an amazingly low price. So be sure that you count all of your in-kind donations, like when your board members drive to meetings, keep track of their hours, their miles. If people donate a well drilling rig, what's the value of that? So in-kind is very important, and that by tabulating your in-kind, then your administrative rate can be lower.
Question also from Gerard Lagos. He wanted to know do you track paid and unpaid hours to create events? Is this important to you?
We certainly do. We have a person who is responsibility, she's a volunteer, goes around and hounds everybody. And have you submitted your form for the month of July, for example, with Judy with her golf? Maybe you could talk about that, Judy.
We talk about all the donations that are given to us, and we get the value. We talk about the hours that we spend on the course. We talk about the hours that we use for the entire event, travel time to and from. And in the past, we have found that all these collective hours really are advantageous when we start to fill out grant forms. So they know that we are a small organization that we do big things, and it costs money, but we have a lot of volunteer hours and money that come in to show that we are an active group.
Mike, can I make one more comment back on the issue of percent?
Sure.
Of what goes to education?
Of course.
When asking companies for money to bring in speakers or to do other activities, one of the questions that I ask, how much is there on for organization, whether it's a charity? So knowing that percent, go around and say, well, the Wisconsin 10% goes to administration fees, so 90% is going to the project. So if somebody's donated $100, they know $90 is going to go to help the learning library. It's not the reverse, where 90% is going to administration fees and 10% is actually going to get to the project. So having that number is a way to promote what the chapter is doing, and a lot of people look at that. and whether they're going to donate to your project or to your program based on how much is going to go and cover administration fees.
And that goes into our annual report. And the annual report talks about each of the projects and has pictures. And so potential donors who are numbers counters can look at the pie chart and see that only 10% is administration.
And participants can find your annual report online at your website?
Yeah.
If not, call or email and ask for a copy.
Excellent. Well, Lisa Martin from Colorado wanted to know, what exactly is the value of having a salaried employee versus a volunteer? Do they actually bring a better skill set? And is a full-time employee really necessary? She comments that volunteers do a tremendous amount and are there for us as well.
Since I'm a retired teacher, I now live in the land of volunteers. And believe me, a volunteer will say that they will be there at 2 o'clock to help you, and if they are a volunteer, they may show up at 3, may not show up at all, or may call you the next day and say, I'm sorry, I forgot. A salaried employee shows up at 8 o'clock, stays, does the job. Our salaried employees have been known to work on weekends. They meet the flights coming in. They see that we are checked into hotels. They see that our projects are carried out. They check to see that the monies that are sent down there for projects are used in the proper way. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a volunteer that would be as dedicated as a salaried employee. Plus the fact that if you're working for a salary, you're apt to do a better job. We have gone with less salaried employees and found it to be detrimental to our programs and our projects, which are extremely important to us. So for us, a salaried employee is extremely important.
Thank you. And I apologize. Lisa Martin is from Washington, D.C., partnered with Brasilia.
Okay.
Lisa Martin would also like to know, how many pounds of coffee do you sell each year? Do travelers bring the coffee back with them?
No, the coffee.
Some travelers will bring coffee back and stuff like that. Don't know per se, but we do have an in-store. But we have a store inside our central office in Stevens Point that does sell, besides coffee, they do sell other items from Nicaragua and stuff like that. But I can't speak on the amount.
I do know that the Appleton-Shenandoah partnership last year sold 115 pounds of coffee just to themselves, members of their families, and people around Appleton. So it's a substantial amount, and we make we make over 50%, I think, of the profit on that stuff.
The roaster for that is Alterra, A-L-T-E-R-R-A, in Milwaukee. And they do ship out coffee. So if you're interested in getting it from a certain country, you could probably talk with Alterra and ask them to bag it for you.
Thank you. We're going to we have 5 more questions. The next question is from Brandon Watkins from Michigan. Brandon would like to know, do funds from the Wisconsin staff salaries come from sponsors, or is that only for Nicaragua staff? Do Wisconsin salaries come from the 10% portion that comes from project donations?
The salaries from the sponsors go for the Nicaraguan salaries. But someone recently suggested, if we're doing that for Nicaragua, why aren't we doing that for Wisconsin? We have not, to this point, supported Wisconsin salaries by sponsorship. What was the second part of that question?
Do Wisconsin salaries come from the 10% portion that comes from project donations?
Yes.
Excellent. Lynn Allen from Colorado would like to know, what's the ideal team composition for successful results? Lynn, I'm going to unmute you just to clarify your question.
Looking at the kind of individuals who can successfully plan and administrate and deliver these programs, what kinds of individuals would constitute the team so that you have the planners, the collaborators, the PR people? Do you have any specific insights that you could give us as to that?
I would say long-suffering, very patient, able to take a lot of criticism, intelligent, open to new ideas, one who can make volunteers each feel valued and important. We currently, as we talk about our staff, I don't know if we mentioned we have one full-time, hard-working person in Wisconsin and a half-time secretary. And then the other employees are in Nicaragua. And they have to see the big picture rather than just thinking about themselves, because they all work overtime without pay.
For my golf outing, the people that help me are people who have traveled to Nicaragua. Many of them are foreign language teachers, Spanish teachers actually. They like to be involved in setting things up. So you find the person that can do the skill that you need, and if they volunteer to help you, chances are they're pretty eager to help in the right way. If you go out and try to draft people, sometimes you get into some issues that you've assigned the wrong task to the wrong person. But you need somebody who's well organized, gets along well with people, and just has a good time.
Yeah, and on that too is people that are not going to, when the door gets shut in your face and says, no, we're not helping, or I'm not going to donate, that people that will keep going. And, like the June 5th event did not come up in April. It was presented back in September, prior, that this was something that we might want to do. And then it was talked again, at board retreat. It was talked again in December. So people that are willing to stick with an idea or a project for the long haul, not the like it has to get done, it starts today and it has to get done by tomorrow. So having people that are very dedicated to that goal, and having people dedicated to it, well, being a team, or like even you, I forgot your name, sorry, in Colorado, but like you said, being a team member. There's no I in team.
The other thing we tend to do is look for the person, not necessarily the member. For example, for the June event, we knew we needed a dynamic MC, so somebody said, well, I know Dave. Dave is a radio announcer. So Dave was asked to be an MC, and he doesn't know how to spell Nicaragua, has never belonged. But he said, oh, sure, that sounds like fun. He said, I have a tuxedo with tails. So we said, you're our man. So let's away from your organization that you want.
Well, thank you so much. Next question comes from Amy Chamberlain. She's from Eastern Pennsylvania. Amy would like to know if you could discuss how the Partner City program works. What benefits are there from these partnerships?
Judy, why don't you talk about that?
Well, Appleton has been partnered with Chinandega for quite a number of years, and it started with a disaster relief activity, and people knew people there. And the advantage of a Partner City connection is that you get to establish a relationship with certain people in the city that you're partnered with. And when you do that, then your feedback is greater. You get to know what the needs are of the people. They feel comfortable in asking for certain things or giving advice for certain areas. It's just an excellent way to develop rapport. A downside is that you may say, I'm only going to help these particular people in this city, as opposed to looking to help others in the country. That's a downside. In Appleton, we have what they're called seed students now that come up from used to be a CAS program, and they become active in our local chapter meetings that we have every other month. And because of that, we have broadened our expanses. And one young man asked if we could help his community with build a toilet project in the school that he once attended. So we've broadened our horizons from just those in Chinandega and the surrounding area to other communities. So the plus side is you develop relationships with certain peoples. A downside is that you may limit yourself to just those people.
We have one other question from Johnny Lopez from Indiana. I will unmute you for this question regarding the leaders. Hey, Johnny. Are you there? Well, Johnny, her question was, how many members, how many leaders, in other words, officers, committee chairs, event chairs, program chairs, do you have? And I think you just answered the question of how many staff members are in Wisconsin and in Nicaragua.
The project chairs come with grants. Project chairs come with interest. I can't give you a number.
Well, let's say 26 to 35, because some of the projects are small.
Excellent. Well, that was our last question. We just gone over about just a few minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and unmute the Yes? Unmute the participants. Sorry?
The only one listening was Alex. So it's been pretty exciting to get questions from all of the people who were paying attention. So thank you all very much for being with us today.
Well, and we'd like to thank you. I'm just going to go ahead and unmute some of the participants so they can just say hello. And we will be sending out the presentation. We'll be sending that out by email. And if there are any questions, I'm also going to include your contact information.
This is Gerard Lagos from Minnesota. Thank you very much. It was very informative.
This is Sandra Dobnap from Colorado, and it was really an excellent presentation. What wonderful sharing and what great ideas. Thank you so much. And we are listening with Sandra Dobnap from Great Lake, Colorado. Thank you for a very informative session. Great.
Well, thank you, everyone. And for the next webinar, that's going to be in 2 weeks from today. We may have to make a small change to that, since the presenter, Beth Outerson from Washington, D.C., might be traveling to Africa. So it might be, I will send an update. It would probably be just the day after. We will be receiving an update on that shortly. So thank you again, and we are looking forward to our next webinar. Have a great weekend.
That was just an accidental
Gerard,
click. That was just an accidental click there, Michael.
Oh, no problem.
But is there still a lot of people on the line, or
we have
on the line?
Yeah, we have about.
It's Jennifer.
Well, I have a young high school student, and I don't know if Eric talked to you about it, but she is actually not that young. She's an 11th grader. She's a high school student. But she started up a pretty nice organization that raises funds for donating soccer equipment around the world, and would like to do something in Uruguay, but also possibly in Nicaragua. And so I was going to get with the Wisconsin Partners Group and see what programs we might be able to start there.
Well, I will include their contact information on the email I'll send with their presentation, and we would definitely be able to get in touch with them. We also have Marcus Laws on the phone. He's a staff member with our program, and they work with soccer as well, and with Uruguay.
Yeah, we talked a little bit with Aganar, and it might be difficult for her program to work with Aganar just in the short time frame that she has, but she's trying to get something done yet this summer. So
sure. Well,
what kind of things does she want to do?
well, she started in India first. Her heritage is Indian, and she basically started a program for girls to develop leadership skills through sports, and soccer was the sport that she has an interest in. And so she collected in the community here in Minnesota. She collected a lot of donated goods, soccer goods, and even money enough to build a field there, and started a little soccer league for girls there.
Oh, that's exciting.
And since then, and I'm going to get my countries wrong, but since then I think she started something in Vietnam. She started a small program in St. Paul. So she's a pretty good go-getter. She joined our membership. She applied for the youth ambassadorship. The rules around youth ambassadors, they're looking for families of need, and her family doesn't fit in